a teacher in Gilbert's Elementary or
I
high
just
school?
resigned in July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in order to do yoga things.
How long have you been a teacher?
Oh my. Over 20 years.
My goodness.
Yep, music education. My master's is in music.
Oh, wow.
I got it at Northern.
Uh-huh.
So I worked with everything from preschool through college. So, and that's part of it. I knew I still wanted to be a teacher, but just in a different way. So, yeah.
Nice to pursue other options too.
Well, it's just, I think everybody, well, that's probably a miscalculation, but I think a lot of people know what it's like to be in a job where you're so passionate and that's still there, but it's just as if you're in a plant, I describe it, in the wrong kind of soil. So you're alive, you're just not thriving the way that you could. And so probably for, I'd say 6 or 7 years, I knew that it was time, but that takes, you can't just be like, well, you know. And so the music teacher, I had 600 kids or so at this school, and that's a lot of connections that you just don't, you know, at least I'm not quick to turn that off. And so it took a lot of interesting sort of open doors for us to take the leap, I guess I should say.
All right. Well, best wishes to you.
Well, thank you.
So I will call the meeting of the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. The reason for our petition today is application 2024-026. This is a request for A1 Agricultural District to be A1 Agricultural District with a conditional use permit for an art studio. The applicant is Daniel and Jana Miller. The address is 403 North Fleming Road, Woodstock. The PIN number for this petition is 0834400005. And it's a 5-acre tract located on the west side of North Fleming Road, approximately 1,430 feet south of the intersection of North Fleming Road and Illinois Route 120 in Greenwood Township. I would have the zoning board members introduce themselves at this time and the township in which they reside, starting on my left.
Mary Donner, Greenwood Township.
Bob Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
I'm Linnea Kustra in Alden Township.
Vicki Gardner, Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Jessica Beverly, Door Township.
This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated August 27th, 2024, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was August 29th, 2024. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was August 23, 2024, both meeting ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. Just for your benefit and for members of the public, how this hearing works is that, first of all, I want to swear in anyone who would want to make a statement. If you would want to make a comment as a member of the public or ask a question, those giving testimony as well as staff, I would swear you in at this time. Do you affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
So how the hearing works is that the petitioner presents their evidence, then you're asked questions by members of the board, as well as if staff has any questions. Then if there's any member of the public, sir, if you'd like to ask questions of the petitioner, you have up to 3 minutes, and it has to be regarding their testimony, but you can ask them questions. And then when their testimony is completed and staff gives their report, then if you have a comment you'd like to give regarding this petition, you have 3 minutes to do that as well. So at this time, I'll turn it over to the petitioner to present your case and what you want to do on this property.
Absolutely.
Please introduce yourself and go ahead and make your case.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daniel Miller. Thank you for having us here today. We do appreciate the time. We are here today because we are planning a goat yoga studio on our residential property. We plan to hold our goat yoga sessions by reservation only. We're not looking to have any kind of retail business hours. It's not open to the general public to just come by. Everything is going to be done via reservations or personal invites.
Yeah. So, as in just like reasonings, or what would you like me to?
Yeah, and then would you introduce
Oh,
yourself?
I apologize.
Yeah, before you get
So I'm
going.
Jana Miller. I'm Daniel's wife. I will be the one primarily leading the yoga, though we raise the goats, both of us, ourselves. So I guess this came about, as I mentioned, a couple of years ago. We, after the pandemic, had made a decision together that I wanted to still be a teacher, but in a much different light. And it was after a conversation I had with the yoga instructor that there was a young boy that attended that had autism and hadn't, according to her, had any kind of facial expressions, hadn't laughed in spite of his age. And she was very emotional as she spoke, and of course as being a teacher, and I had had 2 special needs classes of my own, this really resonated with me. And so as we drove away, I thought to myself, this is what I want to do. Because as silly as it sounds, it was a transcendent experience for us, where both of us having done yoga, and of course getting closer to age 50, I guess myself, not necessarily. I'm 2 years older, so that's always a topic of conversation, that I'm older. But, and then, my mother in poor health, and I just decided that this is how we wanted to spend our time together. And so the more I thought about becoming certified in yoga and pursuing that path, thinking about the good that I could do. And so this boy, according to her, smiled and ran around and played, and I was crying, she was crying, and I thought, this is something that I can do. Having been a music teacher for so long, there's just something mysterious in the connections that you can make through very interesting avenues. And so we just began to pursue how it is that we were going to do that with the right kind of property and where. And as we visited Fleming Road, it just, it spoke to us, very peaceful, and that's not something that we want to interrupt. We want this to be something in the community where everywhere you look in every direction, someone has experienced loss and hurt and pain and needs connection, and we want our place to be that. We want to be the spot where people come and bring family, whether it's levity or it really truly is finding movement again, elderly, etc. We want to be that. We want to be that place in our community. So this is what we intend to do. No more than, and we want the sessions to be intimate. We're not looking to do yoga for loads of people. Maybe at the most 10 people per session, and just a couple of sessions a day. So this is what we're hoping to do. This is what we want to do. We're excited to do it, and we just hope that you will smile favorably on that.
Can you tell us the logistics? I know you're talking about constructing a new building and that sort of thing. Maybe do you have bring up the site plan and they can kind of show us what they want to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to even go up there
Sure.
and kind of point out
Yeah.
things what you have and what's proposed, maybe?
Correct. So currently on the property, this is the residence, and this square here is a current outbuilding. It's just a garage, 2.5 car garage. So we're looking at a new construction building here in the dark black, thick black rectangle of 1,000 square feet at most. That will be enough room for us to have 10 individuals at a time, along with currently 8 goats, to be in that space comfortably. And that's really the construction aspect of it. Will have a paved walkway, handicap accessible, and then parking is going to be here currently. Room for handicap spot, 2 additional spots. That is currently asphalt. And another additional parking spot here. And then any kind of overflow would be directed to field parking over here, keeping in mind where our current septic field is. Be bounded, roped off so that there's no traffic going over the septic field. And then as far as septic fields go, planning to potential location for the septic for the yoga studio would be on this side behind it. Currently the goats are housed here, and that is the property.
Okay, there's some standards for approval for a conditional use permit. They're listed up there. I know that you addressed them. They're in our packet on page 5. I don't know if you have the list of that in front of you. But just for members of the public that are here, maybe just to kind of go through those a little bit. The board has those answers, but if you can just kind of summarize each of those a little bit.
Yes. Give me one moment.
Gotta grab my glasses.
If it's helpful to you, your responses start on page 17.
It's a lot of paperwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Paperless society, right?
Right?
More than ever before.
Okay. Now, do you have these?
And your pages may be different if it's not our packet.
Just to make
Correct.
things fun. Aw, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So number 1, petitioner has demonstrated the ability to meet any applicable standards contained in chapter 16.56, use standards and the site development standards. Conditional use permit we are seeking falls under the category of art studio. In meeting with the Planning and Development Department, we were informed there are no specific use standards applicable to this category. However, the site development standards will be addressed throughout the process, which does include new construction, well location, septic location for the current residents, and proposed new septic locations for the new construction. And we talked about the parking, traffic flow in and out of the business area. We will be using our main driveway. We did work with the McHenry County Highway Department, and they are aware, and we didn't have to have any additional highway access granted due to the fact that we're only expecting at most 40 or 20 people a day, which would then be 20 ins, 20 outs for a maximum of 40 in and outs, which the Highway Department didn't need any additional access requests
And not
or
all
anything
at the
like
same
that.
time, like it wouldn't be 20.
Correct. And very much supporting the protection of our groundwater. That is the water that we drink as our family. That is the water that our animals drink, which is very important to us, not only for the groundwater for us, but for the community around us as well. Moving on, number 2, that the site shall be situated that the proposed use is compatible with the existing or planned future development of the area. Yes, the existing development of the area, including the property the conditional use will occupy, is zoned AG1. The Goat Yoga Studio falls directly in line with the current development, as the goats that will be used in the Goat Yoga Studio are already permissible to be housed on that property. The uniqueness of a goat yoga studio versus a regular human yoga studio is the goats that perfectly fit in with the horses and other livestock that currently reside in the area. That the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use shall not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the neighboring vicinity. Sorry.
That's easy.
Right. I was just looking at the answer. It didn't seem to answer it
If
correctly.
anything, we tend to.
Yeah, so we're looking at the Goat Yoga Studio actually will increase public health, as patrons of the studio will have a serious 45-minute yoga flow while interacting with the goats. So the yoga is It's a serious yoga practice. And this will be beneficial to physical health. The conditional use will also allow for benefits to mental health. Goats provide stress relief, humor, bonding, love, and a unique experience that is beneficial to mental health. The goats are very friendly and are always seeking attention. They are safe animals to interact with. The goats are also supervised and secured at all times and do not pose a safety risk to patrons or any other individuals that live in or visit the area. Number 4, that the conditional use shall not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. Correct, the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property. The site plan shows the proposed location of the Goat Yoga Studio on our property. It will be situated far from the road and tucked in close to other structures already on the property. There is a large and wide tree line between the proposed location of the studio and the closest neighboring property. This will shield that property from the Goat Yoga Studio business. Number 5, that the conditional use shall not substantially diminish and impair property value within the neighborhood. No, the conditional use will not diminish or impair property value at all. There is only one new structure planned to be built, and it will be located in an area on the property that will be hidden from most view of the street. The proposed structure will also be designed in a way that fits in with other non-residential buildings erected on other properties in the area. The intention is for the proposed structure to fully blend in with the surrounding area. Okay, number 6, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. Absolutely. Electricity and either natural or propane gas will be run to the proposed new structure, as well as water and septic hookups to the current well or a new well with a new septic system on the property. The access road will be the current residential driveway of the property off of North Fleming Road. There is adequate parking already existing. All drainage will be considered in the architectural phase of planning the new structure. It will mimic current drainage from the existing structures on the property. Restroom facilities will also be designed in the architectural phase. Number 7, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress, so designed as to minimize traffic congestion and hazard on public streets. Yes, the conditional use is designed to not disrupt the flow of traffic on North Fleming Road. Ingress and egress are very accessible, as the point of ingress and egress is the current residential driveway off of Fleming Road. The driveway is wide enough to allow for 2 cars to fit comfortably next to one another. The business design requires patrons that will be attending a Goat Yoga session to book ahead of time. We don't anticipate individuals that have not pre-booked their Goat Yoga session to be coming onto the property. The business model allows for a maximum of 10 patrons to attend a Goat Yoga session at one time. The plan is to allow for 2 Goat Yoga sessions per day. That would be a maximum of 20 vehicles visiting the property in one day. With the elevated volume of vehicles on Fleming Road throughout the day, a maximum extra 20 vehicles per day will not cause congestion or hazards on Fleming Road. Number 8, that the conditional use shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is located. Yes, the underlying zoning of the area is AG1. The intent of this zoning is to permit agricultural purposes and activities. The goats are already residing on the property, conform to the standards of the zoning district. Operating a Goat Yoga studio further supports the intention of the zoning district. Also, there is a large 2 to 3 acre hayfield on the back end of the property that not only supports the intention of the zoning district, but also can and will be the main source of feed for the goats residing on the property. Number 9, that the conditional use is reasonably in the interest of the public welfare. Yes, it is very much in the interest of the public welfare. Yoga is an activity that any individual of any age can participate in. This opportunity will be available to the general public. Yoga has proven physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual benefits. Adding goats to the yoga provides for a unique and satisfying experience for all. The core value of the Goat Yoga Studio is to bring people joy. Number 10, the adequate measures will be taken to provide protection to groundwater recharge and groundwater quality. Absolutely, groundwater is a top priority. The property has a well, and as I mentioned before, my family lives on the property. Our groundwater is absolutely something we are very much concerned about. The abundance and quality of our water is not only important to me and the members of my family, but also the animals that live on the property, as well as the patrons that visit our studio. It is also important to the overall area. We do not have any rain barrels to collect rainwater or divert water in any way. When we build a new construction yoga studio, we will work with the architect and builder to ensure the groundwater recharge and quality remains a top priority. And I don't believe we are in a groundwater recharge area as it stands.
Okay, we'll start with questions on my right, Ms. Beverly.
I have no questions.
Sure.
Dr. Schnabel.
A new nickname.
I've only been here since 2016.
I know.
It takes a while.
Yeah, I just have a couple things I'd like you to clarify for us as the board. This parking drive you alluded to earlier that's marked in red in front of the house, is that planned to be gravelled, or were you just driving on the grass there?
It will just be grass.
Okay, and this rope barrier you're planning on, are we looking at just like you would see, pylons every so often with?
Yeah, most likely, some sort of figure in the ground and then brightly colored like flags, so that it's very obvious that, and it would be kind of a path leading to that parking area.
Okay, I would assume that you wouldn't be using that if the yard was real wet or anything.
Correct, yeah, we would definitely have to take that into account.
Overflow.
Correct.
All right. Now, the Goat Yoga Studio itself, is that where you're going to be conducting the classes once it gets built, predominantly the
Yes.
amount of time? And I'm assuming the red areas for potential future use are probably only for like when it's really nice outside or weather cooperates.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
tough.
Is that your general
Yeah, that's correct, yeah, it's possible to do outside goat yoga activities, but the predominant classes will take place in
The
the
building's kind of like your backup when the weather's not.
Well, and I guess if I can answer, it's we want our goats to be safe, and just having them roam freely is not something that we are accustomed to doing at all. And so we right now, just want them to be able to be close enough to the patrons where they can interact and not have it be so large that they'll just go off and sit in a corner somewhere while we're over here doing yoga. So for the most part, I think inside, because that's where we can be most comfortable even in the winter. And then of course we all know what July is like in Illinois, so no one wants to be doing too much yoga. So yeah, primarily the building, I would say, yeah.
Since you mentioned July in Illinois, you probably have some air conditioning in that building, I imagine, once it gets built.
Yes, we are planning for HVAC, heating and cooling.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying, that's all I have.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schnabel.
Thank you.
Ms. Gardner.
I only have one question, and it's probably already answered somewhere. The bathrooms that you're proposing, they're going to be in the building?
Yes, they will be.
And
Yeah.
what, one of each?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, probably two gender-neutral bathrooms, so
Okay.
any individual can use whichever one.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Sure. You're welcome, thanks.
Well, my question is pure curiosity. I've never heard of goat yoga before. Could you describe how the goats interact?
Sure.
And how they participate
Absolutely.
in the yoga?
So we have Nigerian dwarf goats, and so they're small. They won't get to be any, unless we overfeed, but we don't really, no more than 40-ish, 45 pounds. And the ones that we have, I don't think any of them have reached that weight. But because this breed of goat is very much like a pet, they crave affection just like a dog or some cats. But when we do the yoga, we just begin, and what's interesting is that they walk freely and then come to people as they feel, and then you have a choice of either continuing on around where they are, or sometimes they really do interrupt you in order to be loved on. So we, I just keep going, I just keep moving, and we tell people that if you intend on just kind of sitting and interacting, lower yourself to the ground, and then many times the goats will come and just sit by you and interact as much as you want, or I don't think anybody doesn't necessarily want to interact because, then it wouldn't be goat yoga, but it's just meant to be a workout if you would like that, or less if you just want to interact. So it's good for all ages. We have plans to hopefully have even people come that are in wheelchairs that maybe haven't been able to move and can come into our space and can freely be able to interact. Kids, with the connections in school, field trips, but you can do the yoga and you can move, and they just want to be loved while you're there.
Okay, if I can oversimplify.
Sure.
It's regular yoga classes with goats.
Correct.
Okay.
And I know that it sounds, and we, when I first saw it, of course it's very trendy, but when we went just thinking it was going to be fun, we were amazed at how transformative it was. And again, after the pandemic where everyone was searching for some kind of levity or connection, we were really, truly surprised at just how much we laughed, felt love, and of course we're dog people, so it felt very much like these very strange, dogs with hooves that were coming next to us. But the whole purpose is that everyone who comes, it's almost impossible for them to leave without feeling some kind of joy. And I don't know that many people can say that about their jobs, where after a full day, everyone leaves having increased the joy factor in their lives. And that is a pretty fantastic thing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
You know all the latest trends, but you weren't on the goat yoga.
Oh, I wasn't. I'm sorry.
You are now.
Well, now you should come and visit.
Now you can tell all your friends. Mr. Cozen.
I have a couple of questions that, if I can direct them to staff, may clarify
sure.
anything else.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. This application is before us not because of the goats, but because they're opening up an art studio. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So even if there were no goats, just to clarify, it would still be before us as a
Correct.
conditional use. And so if the goats were removed, the art studio could go forward. Is that
Correct.
correct? And then the other element is that there's a reference concerning the proximity to a municipality is the city of Woodstock, but the map appears to show it contiguous to the city of Bull Valley.
That's correct.
That's correct. Good. Then if I can go to my questions.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. How many goats will be residing on the property or used throughout the course of the instruction period, seminar, or however you divide your business?
Okay, right now we have 8. As we look to the future, if we have 10 individuals in a class, we're thinking 6 goats per class. Our idea would be to have 12 goats total so that we could rotate the goats throughout the classes. So we're not overworking the goats every day. So we would be looking at 12 total goats on the property with 6 at a time participating in the class.
Where are the origins of the goats, or how do you get them?
Great question. Yeah, we found a breeder in Harvard. They breed specifically just Nigerian dwarfs. And the wonderful thing about this breeder that we found out is that they have a closed herd. So they're not bringing in goats from other breeders. They're only breeding within their herd. And so all of our 8 goats have been purchased from this specific breeder. And as long as they're breeding goats, that's the only place we're going to be purchasing our goats from, because we want to have that same sense of security, not bringing in other goats that could potentially harm or bring disease or illness to our herd.
Will you be using any staff in addition to yourself, or are the instructions all through the?
All through us. We will not be hiring any staff.
Does the building have to be specific to yoga in terms of its construction and design?
I haven't thought about that, but no, I don't think so. As long as we architecturally are planning a building that we feel is conducive to the yoga, that's the direction we'll go.
Could you just go into just a brief detail? You said that you have horses and other livestock, without going all the way down to chickens and
Oh,
dogs.
so we personally don't. There are horses at the property right next to ours. I think what I was alluding to there was that our goats fit in with the community and the livestock that are currently in the area.
So the only livestock you have on your property is the goats that you...
Goats,
Also-
correct. Yeah. I mean, we have chickens, but they're not livestock.
I guess I don't know.
You say that you have, your classes will run 2 hours a day. Is that all 7 days, or is there a time period where you don't offer the course?
I guess it would depend on demand. I don't think, If we're to move forward here, I don't think we would plan on offering classes 7 days a
Correct.
week. It'll kind of be rolled out as demand is there. So it is possible, yes, we could have 2 classes every day of the week.
And then you mentioned about professionals or training. Is there any certification process, or does anybody step
Yes,
forward?
I completed my my yoga certification. It's a 200-hour, and I received that already in June.
And that building, in terms of the restroom facilities, both men and women, or just a single, or how many are you?
We're looking at 2 facilities, so gender neutral,
Mhm.
and so we would have a toilet and a urinal in each one. Thank you.
You're
Because we
welcome.
use them all the time.
Any signage contemplated along Fleming Road? How do you expect people to find your location?
That's a good question. We don't really want to add permanent signage. It doesn't fit with the area. So as we communicate with those that are going to be coming, we will have what we hope to be very specific directions
I mean,
in order for
something
them to
like
find us.
the Miller Farm or something, because that's what, we are, but we could say, when you come to do the yoga, you'll see a sign that says Miller Farm
Yeah.
or something like that.
But we're not planning any permanent,
Mhm.
any kind of large signage or even small permanent signage that would disrupt the area.
But you would have some sign to discourage walk-ins or drop-ins or the curious and the idle to see the goats?
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. That's a good
Right.
point.
How neat that this meeting also brings about questions that we can
Yeah.
ponder.
I mean, we've been there for almost 2 years, and we've had the goats for the majority of the time. Of course, we're not advertising that we have goats, but we don't have any curious people coming by now. I don't anticipate we will, but you don't know.
Yeah, and you can't see them from the road.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you cannot see the goats from the road. They're directly behind the residence, but it is something to think about.
So my last question, so then, how long have you been offering yoga instructions professionally?
Well,
Well, not at all.
haven't,
Not at all?
because-
Not at all.
Right, we were waiting for this
Yeah. Jenna
process.
contracts her services out to other
Mm,
businesses, but no, we don't. We haven't
That's a great-
offered any. We don't offer any yoga currently on the residence.
on the property.
Or at all? Are you?
Did you say or at all?
Right.
Oh, no, I do through a separate, I'm hired as a consultant, kind of contractor, where I go. There's a couple of after-school programs for underprivileged kids in Waukegan, and then some kids training for baseball that their coach wants them at the middle school level to protect themselves from injury, and so they've hired me on Monday nights to go and do that, but it's off of the property, so.
That concludes my questions. Thank you for your
Ms. Scott, I
Thank
think
you.
you kind of answered mine. How long when did you purchase this property? Is that the 2 years ago that you were
Yeah, so
talking about?
November 15th, 2022.
Okay, and it's been in the works since then. This is a 6-year plan that you've had going.
It feels like it in my brain and in my body. And I had been doing yoga since 2012, but just for the benefits for me personally.
Sure.
But then when we went together and did it, then I noticed how amazing it was for ourselves as a married couple. And then as I started talking to all my teacher friends who were also currently burnt out, as I began to think about it, like I said, your eyes can search, and most everyone will have some kind of storm through which they've gone where this is good for them, or even just a bridal party or a something. And I just thought, this is what we're going to
Birthday
do.
party too.
Yeah, exactly. You can think of anyone. And then even for the health benefits, like I said, when my parents come to visit, I have now so many ideas that I can help my mom. She has a degenerative spinal issue, and so now I've been able to offer help to her. And so I know that it's something that can be beneficial to anyone. I've always said, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. So.
Okay. I always thought goat yoga was where the goats walked on their back.
Oh, well, they can. We have a very curious little, she's only, well, let's see, when was she born? She's new.
March or April.
Yeah, March or April. She's brand new, and she is very jumpy still, as baby goats are. And so, you know, if we encourage them to, but again, the safety of that is that we want to make sure that they're not randomly jumping up on you. So,
Goats are good too because you use them with horses to keep the horses calm.
yeah, they are
So
very.
they are very calm.
It is, and they seem to seek out the people who need the most love. It's very, very mysterious, but it's true.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Anna, does staff have any questions?
No questions at this time.
Hmm.
Sir, do you have any questions of their testimony? Okay. And I don't have any questions, so we'll move on to testimony from the public, the staff. Ms.
Okay.
Kurtzman.
So the property is currently zone A1, which is our agricultural district. The surrounding zoning is predominantly A1 as well. There is some incorporated properties to the east. So that's the zoning aspects there. The surrounding land uses in the area immediately adjacent is predominantly single-family residential, scattered with agricultural as you spread out from that residential core. The future land use is established as a state for this area. The proposed use as an art studio would not be in conflict with that in this district. And that is our presentation.
Does anyone have questions for staff?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
The studio to be constructed, would that have to meet commercial standards?
I believe the answer is yes.
Would it be required to be sprinklered?
Probably not at that size.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go on statements from the public. Sir, would you have a statement you'd like to give regarding the petition? Okay. All right, so do you have a closing statement at all?
We just really appreciate the time today, the entire process. It's been a wealth of knowledge on trying to open a business. We've never done this before. But we are just very excited to continue forward with the process, and just thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to the voting portion of the meeting. Again, this is application 2024-026 for a conditional use permit for an art studio. There are 3 proposed conditions. Number 1, the conditional use shall expire 10 years from the date of approval by the McHenry County Board. Number 2, the conditional use shall substantially conform to the official site plan received July 22, 2024. Number 3, all other federal, state, and local laws shall be met. Are there any other proposed conditions?
I would propose amending condition number 1 to be 15 to 20 years. And I'd like to open it for discussion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been,
The proposal to extend this is based on the
But
fact that
just
this
a
is-
second.
Okay.
so it's been moved by Ms. Beverly and second by Ms. Gartner to amend condition number 1. Discussion, Ms. Beverly.
Yes, thank you. So this will be a permanent building on the property that is zoned as an art studio and could serve multiple functions regardless of whether it's goat yoga, regular yoga, or anything like that. And this area has many home businesses that have conditional use permits that are well beyond the 10 years that we normally do, simply because it's beekeeping, dog grooming. I mean, you can look on Google Maps and see that this is an area where people have these types of businesses. And I think that it could be burdensome to have to come back after 10 years to renew this, and there's no reason to have a 10-year conditional use on a home business like this in that area.
I need a specific amount of years that you are
Let's do
proposing.
20.
20. Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Schnabel, any
Or another good
comments?
shape.
I think Ms. Beverly's argument does make some sense in that regard surrounding the conditional. I have no problem with extending it.
Ms. Gardner?
I don't see any reason to limit it to 10.
Mr. Eldridge?
I'm going to vote in favor of the amendment.
Mr. Cozen?
I'm troubled by the open-endedness of almost nearly a quarter century with any range of uses, even that which exceeds the lifespan of the goats. And so I won't be supporting that timeline and would prefer to stay with that as was offered both by staff and the ordinances.
Ms. Donner?
I'm going with the rest of the group, sorry.
Okay, I'll call for the vote to amend condition number 1 that the conditional use shall expire 20 years from the date of approval by the McHenry County Board. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
No.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So this is amended to 20.
No.
Madam
Years.
Chairman, I move acceptance of the conditions as amended.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Eldridge, second by Ms. Donner to approve the conditions. I'll call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so the conditions are approved 7-0.
Madam Chairman, I move acceptance of the petition subject to the conditions.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Eldridge, second by Ms. Gardner to approve this request. Discussion, Mr. Eldridge.
Yes, this is an area of Fleming Road of estate homes that's planned to be estate homes for the foreseeable future. Semi-rural, very little conventional agricultural in the area. This is a 5-acre parcel, very similar to a good many others with a private residence on it. The petitioner wishes to have an art studio to conduct classes on. While I understand that once we've granted the conditional use, if the property were sold, it could be quite different kinds of classes than the goat yoga that is now presented. I think that this is the kind of home business use that is quite common in the area, and I do not see it being a detriment to the area in any way, and I think that it is, to the contrary, a benefit to the county to have successful, useful home businesses such as this. So I will support the petition.
Ms. Donner?
I agree with Charlie.
Mr. Cozen?
I was going through the zoning ordinance. I was one surprised to see an art studio listed as a use when the schools are not. At the same time, I was surprised to see that yoga was specifically listed as an activity under art studio. But then those uses that are listed, such as dance, martial arts, photography, music, painting, and gymnastics, including yoga, must seem to require some condition or would have otherwise been permitted as a matter of right to bring before that, to which I commend you for coming forward with such a benign use of dancing goats along Fleming Road. Nonetheless, I express my concern and trust the process and will be voting in favor of the application going forward.
Ms. Gardner?
I went by the site on my way here, because it's on my way, and that is a designated scenic route down Fleming Road, and your place seems to be right in keeping with that. It is very scenic, very nice. Didn't see any goats. I looked. And I love goats. Goats are my favorite animal, actually. I think this is a lovely use for this property. I don't see any downside to it. I wish you a lot of luck, and I am in favor.
Mr. Schnabel.
I agree with what's just been said. Goats can be very scenic in the appropriate circumstances. So I will be supporting your petition.
Ms. Beverly.
I'm in support of the petition.
And I'm as well. I've also done the yoga teacher certification, but I've never done goat yoga, so I might be one of your customers someday.
Yes, try it.
I'm in favor of the request for all the reasons mentioned, so I'll call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so this will go to the county board with a 7-0 vote approval. At this time, the hearing's closed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A wonderful time, I feel like.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Yes.